Praise the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And peace to everybody that's here in the name of Jesus. We're going to get into, the Bible say that God is deep. Matter of fact, it say God is very deep. We're getting a little feedback. And he got a whole lot of deep things in his word that he's telling us about. Just like last week we dealt with the 70 weeks of Daniel, which is a very in-depth topic of prophecy that the Lord gave to Daniel, showing precisely, giving him a timetable on how and when he's going to deliver Israel from bondage and bring them back to the promised land, fix everything up through Jesus, the Messiah. He showed Daniel that with that prophecy in the 9th chapter of the 70 weeks of Daniel. And a lot of people, that's not the easiest thing to grasp in the Bible. Also, the Lord showed Daniel some other prophecy. In Daniel, the 7th chapter and the 2nd chapter, he showed him some prophecy of 4 beasts which represent kingdoms, the kingdoms of the Gentiles that would rule until the Lord restored things to Israel, which is what the Lord is going to do in the end. Restore it all to Israel. That's what the disciples asked Jesus in Acts, the 1st chapter. They knew what the plan was. They just didn't know when it was. They asked Jesus in Acts, the 1st chapter, after he had resurrected and before he went back to heaven the final time, they said, will you at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? And Jesus didn't say he wasn't going to do it. He just said it wasn't for them to know when he would do it. Because he is going to do it. That's the goal. But the Lord showed you the 4 Gentile rulerships in Daniel, the 7th chapter and the 2nd chapter, starting with Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian Empire, all the way down to the end of the world, when Rome is going to still be ruling the world. So he showed you a whole lot of deep things. Just like we understand about the real who Israel is, that he told you Israel would be in bondage, scattered in bondage until the end come, until Jesus come back and gather them. So he showed us a whole lot of deep things. Things like the Spirit of God, which comes in various forms. Most people don't understand it. Every time you see Spirit in the Bible, it can be talking about different things. One time it's talking about the breath the air that you breathe, the breath that's in your nostrils. That's called spirit. One time it can be talking about a literal spirit being, because God is a spirit. Angels are spirits. It can also be talking about the thoughts of your mind. So it's a whole lot of deep things in the Bible. He showed us about really being born again, getting a brand new body. And all that stuff is important and good to know. But those very deep things won't mean nothing if you don't get some of the small things together. They won't mean nothing to you. They won't do you no good. So some of the small things will be the very things that'll get you in trouble with God and have you miss out on all the good stuff. Some of the very little things. And that's how it is even in general in life, period. Sometimes you can have you can maybe handle a big problem easier, a big catastrophe easier than some of the little small stuff. Sometimes you can do that because the big problem, hey, it don't leave you, but usually you just got to live with it. Somebody died, hey, you got to get used to that. But now some of the small things are the things that will easily knock us off track, and those are things we got to make sure we have together. So we're going to talk about some of the little things today, and that's the title of the lesson, A Few Little Things. That's what we're going to talk about, just a few little things. And this is good to talk about because some of these things we would never have a whole lesson put together about one particular subject, so we can put a few of them all in a lesson together and make a whole lesson out of and touch on things that we don't necessarily be able to touch on in a regular lesson. So that's what we're going to deal with. A few little things. We're going to start off in Luke, the 16th chapter, because little things can loom large, and the Bible is letting you know that. Some of the Bible say You can be tripped up by any little root, any root of bitterness. You can be tripped up and get yourself in trouble with God. So little things can loom large in the big scheme of things. Luke, the 16th chapter, Jesus was given a little analogy about a steward. But he said something which rings true. Because you have people sometimes say, well, you know, you think God gonna destroy me for eating pork? He gonna kill me for eating pork? Yeah, he gonna kill you for eating pork. He tell you don't eat swine, it's unclean unto you. But eating swine, you might consider that a little thing, but that's just a symptom of your overall big problem. Because you just don't want to obey God. So I know also, if you got a problem and want to eat pork, I know also you got a problem and don't want to keep the Sabbath day, which is a big thing. That's why we're here today. That's one of the 10 commandments. And that's what will help keep you in line even when you want to act stupid. If you remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. That's a big thing. But again, the little thing is a symptom of it. If you can't stop yourself from eating pork, I know you're going to do some of the other break some of the other big laws. So, yeah, he going to kill you because you just don't want to obey, period. But now notice what Jesus said here, Luke 16 and verse 10. We got a whole lot of scriptures, but we don't have that many verses, so we should be okay. Y'all shouldn't go to sleep on me. 16 and 10. Go ahead.
He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much.
Now you see what Jesus said? He said, he that is faithful in that which is least. What's the least? That's a little thing. So that's how he can test you out. He will see if you will be faithful in a little matter. And he know if you will be faithful in a little matter, you will be faithful, as he said here, in much. But vice versa, he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. So that's why we got to make sure, hey, if we can't handle some little things, ain't no way you can handle a big problem. No way you can handle it. But now let's go further. Let's go to Proverbs, the 3rd chapter, and you can hold Proverbs all day because we're going to come back and forth. Because Solomon gave us in Proverbs a whole lot of little parables and analogies to show us, to give us little bitty lessons about things. So we're going to keep coming back and forth. Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. But Jesus just told us, he that is faithful in a little bit will be faithful in much. But on the other hand, if you're not faithful in a little, then you're not going to be faithful in a lot. Just like if you can loan somebody some money, that'd be a test. If you loan them a little money, they pay you back, then you figure if they need some big money, you figure it's a good chance they'll give it back to you. They have proven themselves in something small. Just like if I see two people disputing, even around here, if I see two people disputing, and I know that one person is always into it with somebody and the other person ain't seen them into it with nobody, you know who I pretty much gonna bet is at fault? The one that's always messing up in some stuff. That's just the way it is. But Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. Proverbs 3 and verse 11. Proverbs 3, and we're going to pick it up at verse 11. Okay, go ahead.
My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. For whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth, even as a father the son in whom he delighteth.
See, now one of the things that is hard for us to deal with, one of the seemingly little things, and that is correction. Even correction that's from the Lord, which everything is orchestrated by God anyway. So he said, my son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. Why does he have to tell us don't despise the chastening of the Lord? Why? Because he know that you will. He know that we don't want to go through nothing. We could be wrong all day long and we still don't want to pay no penalty for it. We don't want to be straightened out so we can do better the next time. We want to just get a free pass. So he had to tell us that. My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. Why? Because that's what you need. You need to be corrected. You need to be straightened out so he don't have to give you the big punishment in the end. That's what we need. Then he go further to tell us, for whom the Lord loveth, he corrected. So even though correction don't seem like no fun, it's what you need. And it's showing you that the Lord love you, he said. For whom the Lord loveth, he corrected, even as the Father, the Son, in whom he delighted in. See, we understand, adults understand about chastising their children. But then we don't want no chastisement most of the time. We don't think we should get none. Even if sometimes we have to tell each other that you know, that's not wrong, you shouldn't have did that, or you shouldn't do that. We just don't want to hear it. We'll block our ears up, start making all kind of excuses. But what? Whenever you got to keep using but, that means you got to straighten the front end of that out first before you even get to the but. But now let's go further. Go to Proverbs 15. So that's something little, that's something real basic that we can accept correction. But the Bible telling you, don't despise it, because we have a propensity to despise being corrected, being chastised. Proverbs 15, and we're going to pick it up at verse 5. Okay, go ahead.
A fool despiseth his father's instruction, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent.
He called a person who despised instruction or correction, he called him a fool. He said, a fool despiseth his father's instruction. So you being told the right way, but you don't want to listen. He said that person is a fool. But now on the other hand, he that regardeth reproof, he that listeneth to some correction or reproof, he said that person is prudent. That person is wise. Skip down to verse, what is that, 15? 10, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Correction is grievous unto him that forsaketh the way. And he that hateth reproof shall die.
See, he said correction again. It's grievous. If you just been on doing wrong, yeah, correction going to be grievous to you. Instead of you taking it in stride and being better for it, now correction is grievous unto him that forsaketh the way, and he that hateth reproof shall die. So if you hate reproof, he said you're going to die. If you hate to be corrected. Even, because sometimes at one point or another, all of us got to be wrong in somewhere. But I think some of us think we never wrong. It's always the other person. But now, skip down to verse 31. Go ahead.
The ear that heareth the reproof of life abideth among the wise.
See, the ear. See, it comes down to listening. That's what we need to practice a lot more of too. And that's simply listening, because you can't, it's hard to learn something, period, when you're talking. You got a much better shot to learn something if you listening. So that's why he's talking about the ear. He said, the ear that heareth the reproof of life abideth among the wise. Go ahead.
He that refuseth instruction despiseth his own soul. But he that heareth reproof getteth understanding.
So he told us again, if you refuse instruction, he said you're going to die. And he said it here, he said you despise your own soul. Even though you think you're protecting yourself from some onslaught that somebody bringing against you. But he said, you despise your own soul because you don't want to listen and be corrected. But he that heareth reproof, he get understanding. Verse 33.
The fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility.
See, the fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom. So that's what it boils down to, first and foremost, fearing the Lord. That's the first step to all of it, fearing the Lord. That's the instruction of wisdom. And then he said something else. He said, and before honor is humility. So most people want to get some honor one way or another, but he's telling us the way to get honor is to be humble. It's to operate with some humility, which that's what a lot of times we don't want to do. He said before honor is humility. So before you're going to get some honor, you're going to have to operate with some humility. But now let's go to the New Testament. Again, we're going to keep coming back to Proverbs. Go to James, the 1st chapter. We're going to keep coming back, though. James, the 1st chapter. Because we see, might seem like something small. Taking heed to some correction. Listen to somebody. Even if they can be wrong, you can still, because a lot of times we don't even want to let people finish telling us something. If they look like they saying we did something wrong, well, we can't even let them finish. Wait a minute. Let me tell you now. No, you can just listen. That's why they said in the Bible a lot of times. That's why a lot of times in the Bible, they would say, look, I got a thing to say to you. And then when the person say, go ahead and say it, then you're supposed to let them go ahead and say it. You shouldn't be trying to cut them off and you ain't even heard the whole story and you done cut them off and now it's back and forth. You can't get nothing out of that. So even if they wrong, you can still hear them out. Even if they wrong. Even if they just talking real foolish, you just know when that conversation over, they was talking foolish. It still ain't hurting you. James, the 1st chapter. James 1, and we're going to read one verse. Then we're going to go back to Proverbs. James 1 and verse 19. Okay, go ahead.
Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath.
See what he told us? He said, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. See, again, that's something we should practice. That's the only way you can receive some correction. If we constantly trying to defend ourselves, then you ain't going to get no correction. So he said, let every man be swift to hear. That means you should be more quicker to hear, slow to speak. You should be more quicker to hear than to talk. And slow to wrath. And again, that's a good thing to practice. Because you could be crazy as all outdoors. If you keep your mouth shut, won't nobody even know it. The Bible tells you that. The Bible says even a fool is counted wise when he hold his peace. That's what the Bible says. And I seen it in action. I seen people that finally, after so long, they did good, then they let the cat out the bag. I said, man, I thought they had some sense. Because they had been quiet a long time. I seen a brother dealing with the word. He'd be around, brothers be talking. You know, brothers like to talk about the word, talk. And this brother be standing around. He wouldn't say nothing. And I just knew, I said, that brother's wise. Mm-hmm. Then one day he let the cat out the bag, though. I said, oh, man. But he's telling you here. He said, wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. We're going to come back to James. Let's go to Proverbs. See why it's so important to be quick to hear and be able to take some correction as the Bible has told us. Proverbs 29. And we're going to come back to James. Proverbs 29, and we're just going to read one verse. See, these little things are just as important, even more important than some of the big things. Because you still, it's good to know about the 70 weeks of Daniel. But you might not know about that, might not fully understand it, and you can still get into the kingdom. But if we don't practice some of these things, like he said in another scripture, he said, in the simple things, as brute beasts, that's where you can condemn yourself. In some of the basic things. Proverbs 29, verse 1. Go ahead.
He that being often reproved hardeneth his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy.
See, that's why it's so important to be able to be corrected, and especially if you often reprove. If every time you turn around, somebody got to say, oh, that was wrong. You shouldn't have did that. That was wrong. You shouldn't have did. Something is really wrong then. He said, he that being often reproved and hardeneth his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. That means ain't going to be no fixing that up. That's some serious danger. That's why it's important again to be able to receive the correction, because God is in control of everything. Can't nothing happen without God. So if something bad happened, sometimes we want to blame the individual right in front of us, but hey, the Lord is in control of it all. But now let's go further. Go back to James, the 4th chapter this time. James, the 4th chapter. James 4. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit and just, because he just let us know you have to be able to receive correction, and you need to practice on listening instead of talking, because a lot of times, as soon as we open our mouth up, we saying the wrong thing. A lot of times. Even something basic like this, he's going to tell us here. James 4, and we're going to pick it up at verse 13. James 4 and 13. Okay, go ahead.
Go to now, ye that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain.
See, now that don't seem like you saying much wrong. That don't seem like much out of the way. He said, go to now, you that say today or tomorrow we will go into such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. Don't seem like you said too much wrong, but now you just talking like you know you in control of everything. You just know what's going to happen in the future. That's what he's trying to stress to us here. Go ahead, verse 14. What should you say?
Whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow.
See, you don't know what's going to be on the morrow, so don't act like you know. Go ahead.
For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away.
See, that's how our life is. Sometimes we get so big, but the Bible tells us our life is just a vapor. And it appears for a moment, then it's gone. So how are we going to get so boastful and talk so proud? How are we going to get to the point we better than everybody else and somebody else is always wrong? We can't do that. He said, he's going to tell you what you should have said. Verse 15.
For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that.
See, if the Lord will, because we can be dead tomorrow. We see how, hey, life expectancy is nothing compared to what it was in the old days. They lived hundreds of years. Now it ain't nothing compared to that. So you don't even know if you're going to live, let alone talking lofty about what you're going to do the next day. Just like when we try to spread the gospel, we don't say, well, we definitely going to do this. We say, if it's the Lord's will, we're going to be on TV. We're going to open up a church here. That's if the Lord's will, though, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. That's what he told you. For ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or do that. See, so that's easy to open your mouth and put your foot in it. It's real easy to do that, but we got to watch that. Go ahead, verse 16.
But now ye rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicings is evil.
So he said, now you talking big. He said, and rejoice in your boasting. That's one thing the mouth would do in a hurry. It'll boast. You might not even be boasting intentionally, but you still boasting. Don't even know it. Just patting yourself on the back. Don't even know it. But now ye rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil. Go ahead.
Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin.
See? Because to whom much is given, much is required. That's why he said with the increase of wisdom is the increase of sorrow, because you're more accountable. So we can say, yeah, a lot of people in the average Sunday church, they don't know half the stuff that we know. But yet still, they less accountable for not knowing half the stuff that we know. We more accountable. So that's what you got to keep in mind. He said, therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. Let's go back to Proverbs 27. Because again, everything was said. The way to serve God and please God has been spelled out in the Old Testament. The New Testament just reiterated it. Just testified of it. Proverbs 27. Basically, James was quoting this right here. Proverbs 27. He was quoting the principle of what we're getting ready to read here. But he took it a little further here. 27 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth.
See, that's exactly what James said, right? Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. You don't know what's going to happen. Even Jesus said, don't even worry about tomorrow. You got enough evil to deal with today. Sometimes stuff be running through your mind. You be thinking about this, thinking about that. That's a waste of thought. You might not even make it to that. And you might have another problem pop up today. And that didn't happen before. You be worried about this, all of a sudden over here, you forgot all about that. You had wasted your time struggling over that. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day shall bring forth. Go ahead, verse 2.
Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth. A stranger, and not thine own lips.
See, you got to watch your mouth. He said, let another man praise you, and not thine own mouth. A stranger, and not thine own. So we got to be careful about thinking we better and praising ourselves. Well, I'm better than such and such. That's why people get into a lot of fights and debates, because in our mind we think automatically we better than somebody, or we the best at something that we doing. He said, let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips. Because when you get down to the meat of it, you should realize you're not nothing. He just told you your life is like a vapor, and it appears and then it's gone. So what is that? What is that to be proud about? We striving to get the real glory from the Lord. But now back up Proverbs 25. Back up to Proverbs 25. Proverbs 25. And we're going to pick it up this time at verse 16. Proverbs 25 and verse 16. Go ahead.
Hast thou found honey? Eat so much as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomited.
See, you can overdo everything, in other words. It can be too much. It can be, you heard of the saying, too much of a good thing. Well, honey is good. He said, hast thou found honey? Eat so much as is sufficient for thee. Just eat enough, lest thou be filled therewith and vomited. Kids learn that all the time. They want to eat candy, candy, candy. And then they eat so much candy, then they got a tummy ache because they ate too much candy. Well, he said, eat so much as sufficient for thee. But he's talking to grown kids now. Skip down to verse 27. Go ahead.
It is not good to eat much honey. So for men to search their own glory is not glory.
See, he said it ain't good to eat much honey. You overindulge in honey. That's not good. But he's trying to make another point. He said, so for men to search their own glory, that's not glory. If you got to point out that I'm this and I'm that and I do this and I'm doing that and I'm better than such and such, that ain't no glory. That's your mouth. That's all it is. Glory will come if somebody else say it. He said, it is not good to eat much honey, so for men to search their own glory is not glory. Let's move further. Let's go to James, the 3rd chapter. So that's just a little bit on boasting. James 3. And we're going to read one verse. Because again, you can easily cross the line and been offensive to God just by saying something with your mouth. We got a lesson that deals particularly with watching your mouth, but we just touching on this a little bit. On ways you can cross the line with your tongue. James 3 and verse 5. Okay, go ahead.
Even so the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth.
See what he said the tongue do? He said, even so the tongue is a little member. We dealing with little things, just a few little things. Well, the tongue is a little member, but it can get you in big trouble. People get jumped on and beat up because they was running their mouth too much. Knew they couldn't do nothing in the first place, but just had to keep on talking. Even so the tongue is a little member, and boasted great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. Just like even on a large scale, even with wars, even with this guy that was in Iraq, Hussein. He knew ultimately he couldn't do nothing with the power of the United States, but he studied was talking. He studied was boasting because he just didn't think they would go through all the trouble to come get him. But that's what they did, didn't they? Came and got him, made his own people hang him. But that wouldn't have happened if he would have, you think that would have happened if he would have kept quiet? That wouldn't have happened. He just didn't think. He thought he could get out of it somewhere. They even threatened him before they came over there. They knew he wasn't going to listen to him. They said, look, we're giving you so much time just to leave. He still would have been straight if he would have did that. He could have got asylum somewhere. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to do that. He was boasting. That's on a big scale. He said, even so the tongue is a little member and boasted great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. Let's go farther. Go to Romans, the 12th chapter. Romans 12. Romans, the 12th chapter. Because we get ourselves in trouble with our mouth boasting a lot of times. That's because inwardly, in our mind, we do think that we more than we are. We think that we more than we are. So that's why we get ourselves in trouble. So to really keep the tongue in control, you got to get the mind in control. Or like the Bible said, get this main eye in control. The eye that you see with out of your mind. Get that in control. And don't think more lofty than you need to. Romans 12 and verse 3. Go ahead.
For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of his faith.
See, he had to tell these people that. He said, I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think more highly, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. Because that's a common fallacy for us to think more highly of ourselves than we should. We put ourselves way up here and really we should be way down here. You didn't see, just like you got people that want a title, they said, that's why we don't have no titles here. Because we know that don't mean nothing. People want a title, they say they want to be apostle and prophet. You didn't see none of the prophets in the Bible calling themselves a prophet. Because they didn't think of themselves like that. They were just a regular man trying to do God's will. They weren't lifted up like that. Daniel didn't walk up to nobody, I'm Prophet Daniel from Judea. Prophet Daniel. He didn't do that.
No.
But other people called him prophet. Like he said, let somebody else praise you. Daniel called Jeremiah a prophet. He said, I read Jeremiah. I've learned by books about Jeremiah the prophet in Daniel the 9th chapter. But Jeremiah wasn't calling himself no prophet. So he said, to every man that's among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of grace. Okay, skip down to verse 16 and read that one.
Be of the same mind one toward another.
Be like-minded one toward another. Don't try to be way up here and put everybody down there. Be of the same mind one toward another. Go ahead.
Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceit.
See, don't be puffed up in your own mind. He said, mind not high things. Don't be worried about being the big shot. He said, but bring yourself down a notch. Condescend to men of low estates. Because if you do that, then you can keep your tongue from boasting some stuff. Because you realize what the truth is. The Bible say every man at his best state. That's at your best. And it's rarely that you at your best. Every man at his best state is what it say in Psalm 39. Altogether vanity. That's at your best. So that means it ain't no reason for us to be lifting ourselves up. But now go further. Go to back to Proverbs, the 15th chapter. Back to Proverbs 15. Proverbs 15. Proverbs 15, and we're going to pick it up at verse 16. Proverbs 15 and verse 16. But that just boils down to, we saw a little bit about being corrected, being able to take some rebuke or some reproof. That boils down to the same thing, not being too puffed up. You can do that. Then we read, recently here, we've been reading about just simply not boasting with your tongue. That boils down to the same thing, not being puffed up in the mind. So here, it boils down to simply being content with your position and where you at and not trying to be more than you are. Here he going to tell us that in another way. Proverbs 15 and verse 16. Go ahead.
Better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble therewith.
See, again, a lot of times we don't want little. We want more and more and more. But it's always a price to pay for more. He said, better is a little with the fear of the Lord. Again, most people think it'd be better with a lot when it comes to money or whatever it is that's supposed to be good. Just like honey. You can have a lot of honey. You don't need to overindulge in honey. It won't do you no good. So he said, better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble therewith. So what good is it going to do if you got great treasure, but it's trouble all around? So a little is better in this case, isn't it?
Yeah.
But now skip down to, go ahead, verse 17.
Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith.
See, better is a dinner of herbs. You would think you want to be over there where people barbecuing and they eating real good. That's where he's talking about the stalled ox. Mm-hmm. But you might be better off if it's going to be some hatred there. You'll be better off just eating some salad somewhere. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith. Let's go further. Let's go to Timothy, the 6th chapter. 1 Timothy 6. 1 Timothy 6. 1 Timothy 6. See, but you got prosperity ministers, they won't tell you it's sometimes better to have a little. Mm-mm. They tell you you're supposed to have all of it. Prosperity. 1 Timothy 6 and verse 6. Okay, go ahead.
But godliness with contentment is great gain.
See, he said, but godliness with contentment is great gain. That's what he's trying to get us to focus on, being contentment. Even when it's not talking about money, just with who you are and where you're at. We don't have to try to be better than somebody and think we're greater than somebody. Just be content with what the Lord then gave you. But godliness with contentment is great gain. And that's true, of course, with what he's talking about on the financial spectrum. Go ahead.
For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out.
See, you didn't come with nothing, and you're not going to leave with nothing. So ain't no need for us to get hung up like we got to have this and got to have that. He said we brought nothing in, and we're not going to leave with nothing. We're not going to carry nothing out. Verse 8.
And having food and raiment, let us be therewith content.
See, that's a key word. Let us be therewith content. Having what we need, let us be therewith content, he said. Be content. That's hard for man to be. Because it is in his nature to want. But now Hebrews, the 13th chapter. Go a little further to Hebrews, the 13th chapter. But if we practice being content, then that'll keep down a lot of the other issues that we have. If you're content, you won't be going around boasting. Hebrews 13. Even if you're content with knowing where you are, you won't mind when you get corrected, because you didn't put yourself on the pedestal in the first place, because you was content. Hebrews 13 and verse 5. Okay, go ahead.
Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have.
See, he said the same thing again, but he talking about your conversation either. Let it be without covetousness. Because covetous is when you lust and when you want. He said, let your conversation be without covetousness, which also, of course, is the way you're going to live. Let it be without covetousness and be content with such things as you have, he said. Go ahead.
For he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee.
See, he didn't promise that he won't leave or forsake us. So why do we get all up in arms and get antsy when everything might not be perfect like we want it to be? As long as the Lord taking care of you, that's all you should be concerned with. And if the Lord is God and you doing your best to serve him, then he going to take care of everything else. He going to make sure it work for you. So that's just showing a lack of faith when we up in arms about even stuff that we might need. That's why Jesus said, don't worry about what you're going to eat and clothes that you're going to wear. Don't worry about it. But the world got people trusting in those things and trusting in riches. That's why they so covetous and greedy, because that's what the trust is in. Instead of when he telling us here, your trust need to be in the Lord. That's who you need to be having faith in. He told you he's going to take care of you. All we got to do is seek ye first the kingdom, and he's going to give us everything else. Let's go back to Proverbs. Proverbs, the 11th chapter. But that's what people doing. That's why preachers got people on this prosperity kick, because that's what they trusting in. Because you can do things in this world with money, but that ain't going to get you nowhere with the Lord. And like Paul was saying in Timothy, it don't prove that you godly because you got some gain. But godliness with contentment, that's the real gain. Back to Proverbs, the 11th chapter. He's going to tell you here. Proverbs, the 11th chapter, and we're going to pick it up at verse 28. Proverbs 11 and verse 28. Okay, go ahead.
He that trusteth in his riches shall fall, but the righteous shall flourish as a branch.
See, this is the problem. A lot of people that do got some riches, that's what they trusting in. They don't have time to trust in the Lord. They don't have no faith in the Lord. They think they got it all together. Like Jesus gave you the parable of the rich man who had all these riches, and he going to make some more room for his riches because he don't even have enough room for his riches. He got so much riches. That's the way there's people in this world like that. They ain't worried about no gas prices right now. They ain't even sweating it at all. So, but he told you this man that was rich who didn't have enough room for all of his riches, he going to do this. He going to make some room, make an expansion to cover all of his stuff. And then the Lord said, you fool, this night is your soul required of you. Now who's that stuff going to be? Who's that stuff going to belong to now? But that's all he was trusting in. He said, he that trusted in his riches shall fall. So even though money can get you places in this world, Ecclesiastes say money answereth all things. That's in this world. You can get some money, you can commit a crime, you can pay your way out of it in a lot of cases. So it can get you place, but it can't get you nowhere with the Lord. And this world gonna end. So he that trusts in his riches shall fall, but the righteous shall flourish as a branch. So that's what's important, being righteous, being godly, not whether you got some money in the bank. You might not have no money in the bank, but you walking with the Lord, you got a good reward coming. You got some money in the bank, you just don't know about it. And he gonna make sure you have everything you need right now. And I ain't saying you're going to get a check in the mail or something like they say on TV. You know what? I just went to the mailbox and I got this $56,000 check. That's some foolishness. Mm-hmm. They trying to again get people to trust in riches. But now go ahead, verse 29.
He that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind. And the fool shall be servant to the wise of heart.
See, now notice he said here, he that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind. Because you don't have to be rich. All you got to do is be focusing on keeping God's commandments, serving him, and God will have things working out for you still. Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom, everything else will be added to you. But then, when you go against God, when you break God's commandments, you just add some trouble to your house. He said, he that troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind. That ain't nothing, is it? He said, you're going to inherit the wind. That means your inheritance is going to be nothing. That's for troubling your own house. Because the Lord can bless you, things can be going good. Then you step out of line. He said, you troubling your own house. This is what your inheritance is going to be. The wind. And the fool shall be servant to the wise of heart. Let's go farther. Let's go to Proverbs 14. Because now we just going to talk a little bit about making sure we keep our house together. Proverbs 14. See, in that verse, he said, he that troubled his house. But it don't have to be the he that troubled his house. It can be he or it can be her. Because everything that the Lord say is good for the man and the woman. He don't have to say woman, 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 because when he said man, that includes her as well. But now he get real specific here. Verse 14. Verse 1. Proverbs 14 and verse 1. Read that one verse. Go ahead.
Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands.
See, now he said every wise woman. If a woman is wise, he said every wise woman buildeth her house. She buildeth her house. Now, he ain't talking about a woman going out there and putting some bricks up, right? Most of the time men do that, even though women can do that. Most of the time men build a house or do that type of labor. But what is he talking about? Still making the house what it is. The woman still got that power. He said, every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hand. See, that shows you a woman got a lot of power, don't she? She can either build her house, make her house strong, like the Lord intend for it to be, run the house like it needs to be ran, because the man's supposed to be going out doing what needs to be done, or she can pluck it down with her hands, he said. So that shows you the Lord gave the power in our hands, the man and the woman, because he said, he that troubled his house shall inherit the wind. But let's go to the New Testament, Timothy, the 5th chapter, 1 Timothy 5. And we're going to come back to Proverbs again. But 1 Timothy 5. So you can either be a wise woman that build your house, or you could be a foolish woman that pluck it down with your hands. First Timothy 5. And we're going to read one verse here, verse 8. 1 Timothy 5. And go ahead and pick it up at verse 8. Go ahead.
But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel.
See, now this is back to the man. It said, but if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. So you could say, well, the woman messing everything up, but the man, he's in control of providing for everybody. And if he don't do that, he got some strong words for him. He said, he have denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. See, that's why Israel as a nation scattered in bondage. Don't have no fathers doing what they supposed to do in the house. That's why the nation is destroyed, period. That's one thing, even though to me he ain't nothing but another politician, but at least Barack Obama say that. He said, hey, you got to get up and do what you need to do. But he said, if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he have denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. So much for not taking care of business and blaming it on the woman. Let's go back to Proverbs. Proverbs 25. Proverbs 25. But even in that case, even if a woman is married to somebody that don't do what he's supposed to do, if she served the Lord's still going to take care of her. 25 and 17. Back to Proverbs, the 25th chapter. So the house is made up by the man and the woman, and you have kids. It can be messed up by either one of them if they're not doing what they need to do. Then it can be, you can get some trouble in the house from some other direction. Notice what he said here, 25 and verse 17. This is what we need to be careful of too. Go ahead.
Withdraw thy foot from thy neighbor's house, lest he be weary of thee and so hate thee. See what he said? Sometimes we can be too friendly. We can be over friendly and not paying attention that, look, you need to go home sometime. Even some of the teenagers or young kids, they want to spend the night over somebody else. No, stay your behind at home sometime. He said, withdraw thy foot from thy neighbor's house. I mean, you shouldn't always be up in your neighbor's house. Showing up, don't even call. Withdraw your foot from your neighbor's house, lest he be weary of thee and so hate thee. Skip down to verse 19. Confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint.
Now, there again, if something is really important, see, it won't matter. If it's not real important, it won't show up. It won't be a hindrance. It won't be a bother. But then when it gets laid on the line, and that go back to small things. If you're dealing with somebody and they can't handle small things, you ain't got good sense if you give them something big to handle.
Nope.
I done made that mistake myself. But you have to learn your lesson. So he tells you here, confidence in an unfaithful man in the time of trouble. Now they done already proved unfaithful. And now it's on the line now. It's a time of trouble. If you got confidence in somebody that's unfaithful, that's bad business, isn't it?
That's right.
He says it's like a broken tooth. You know you have a broken tooth, your whole head, your whole body is hurting. And a foot out of joint. You can't do too much with a foot out of joint. Everything is just out of whack. That's going to lead us into the next thing. Let's go to Proverbs, the 20th chapter. Because again, you don't have to be trusting in riches, and you're not supposed to be hung up on riches and let that even be a concern. But that don't mean you can just stay at home and say, look, I ain't worried about no riches. The Lord going to take care of me. Now, he's not talking about that either. Israelites good for that. That's what some of the Israelites that want to harp on having more than one wife, but they don't want to take care of one wife. How the heck you going to have more than one wife? You can't take care of one. You got them all scattered around, and you can't take care of one. Don't even intend to work. Proverbs 20. Verse 13. Proverbs 20 and verse 13. Okay, go ahead.
Love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread.
See, you got to be able to take care of the business you got to take care of. He said, love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. See, you ain't got to be striving to be rich, but you're not supposed to be slothful either. So he said, love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. He said, look, wake up, and you can make, the Lord is no respecter of person. You should be able to make a living. You will be able to make a living. Because some brothers say, oh, no, it's too hard. I can't do nothing. Look, you can do something. You just playing with yourself. You just don't want to do nothing. You done got used to sleeping. Getting up in the middle of the day. As my football coach used to say, it ain't going to keep going like that where you wake up at noon and go straight to the refrigerator. It don't keep working like that. Love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. You got to wake up and go handle your business. Proverbs 26. Proverbs 26. Pick it up at verse 13. Proverbs 26 and 13. Go ahead.
The slothful man said, there is a lion in the way. A lion is in the streets.
Now that's what the slothful man said. Always got 99 excuses. It's always a reason why he can't do what he needs to do. Yeah. The slothful man says it's a lion out there. It's a lion in the way. I can't go out there and try to get no job. I can't go out there and work. It's a lion out there. A lion is in this. You didn't see that lion? Go ahead.
As the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed.
See? He said, just like the door on his hinges. Slothful man just want to lay around, don't want to do nothing. Don't want to go out there.
No.
If it don't be a lion, it's going to be a bear next time. It's a bear out there. Go ahead.
Verse 15. The slothful hideth his hand in his bosom. It grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth.
Boy, you know that's lazy, boy. You don't even want to bring your hand out your bosom. You know you done got real lazy. You wrapped under them covers, got your hand, you know when you sleep sometime. But that's supposed, you just got to get up and go to work when it's time to do that. He said he done got so lazy, he don't even want to bring his hand out his bosom till his mouth.
Wow.
Want somebody else to feed. Can you put that in my mouth? Go ahead, verse 16.
The sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a season.
Oh, the sluggard is wise, boy. He can come up with some excuses. He'd beat 7 men out that can come up with an excuse if he's sluggard. The sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. He gonna beat 7 people out. Go ahead, one more, verse 17.
He that passeth by and meddleth with strife belonging not to him is like one that taketh a dog by the ears.
See, now this brings us into something else. See, we just talking about a few little things. And it's good he followed that out after talking about somebody being sluggard and lazy, because he turned around and said, he that passes by and meddleth with strife belonging not to him is like one that taketh a dog by the ears. That's something you got to be careful. You don't just walk up and grab a dog by the ears, do you? Because what's likely to happen? You end up getting bit. Might just pull back one hand the next time. So that's the same thing if you passing by. And sometimes, reason why I say it's good he followed it up, because if you sluggard, then you got too much time to do stuff you don't even need to do. When you do get up, you mess around, get into something you didn't even need to get into. Just like, well, let's go farther. Go to Thessalonians. 2 Thessalonians, the 3rd chapter. 2 Thessalonians, the 3rd chapter. Just like I done seen this happen, some of y'all probably seen it happen. You mess around and meddle in something that you didn't need to meddle in. Just like you see a man and a woman. Not just the man beating the woman to death, but the man and the woman basically going at it. And you're going to try to intervene without knowing anything about it. You have to be careful in situations like that. Because both the man and the woman turn around and be beating on you next. You've seen that happen. You think you need some help, man? Shut up. Now, it's a different story, you know, if the man just killing a woman. That's one thing. Well, if they having some domestic dispute, you might want to walk gingerly. Because you could be meddling in some strife like you grabbing a dog by the ears. 2 Thessalonians, the 3rd chapter. 2 Thessalonians 3 and verse 6. 2 Thessalonians 3 and verse 6. Okay, go ahead.
Now we command you, brethren, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that ye withdraw yourselves from every brother that walketh disorderly, and not after the tradition which he received of us. For yourselves know how ye ought to follow us, for we have behaved not ourselves disorderly among you. Now
Paul said, look, we behaved ourselves orderly when we was among you. We wasn't disorderly. So you get away from the ones that don't want to follow the rules, the commandments, and even some of the simple principles that we done laid out. You get away from them that don't want to follow that. And we gave you an example on how you need to act. Go ahead, verse 8.
Neither did we eat any man's bread for naught.
See, Paul said we didn't eat any man's bread for aught. In other words, he said, look, when we was among you, we worked just like everybody else. Even though the Bible say the workman is worthy of his hire, but preachers that misuse that to get rich off of. So Paul said, look, we're going to be an example. We're going to work for ours. And that's what we do here. But go ahead.
But wrought with labor and travail night and day, that we might not be chargeable to any of you.
See, so they wasn't slothful, were they? He said, no, we didn't eat any man's bread for naught, but we wrought with labor and travail night and day, that we might not be chargeable to any of you. So we wouldn't owe none of y'all nothing. We didn't take anything. Go ahead, verse 9.
Not because we have not power, but to make ourselves an example unto you to follow us.
See, he said we want to be an example, not that we don't have power, because the Bible do say the workman is worthy of his hire. Just like a lot of people do stuff around here, by right, they could get paid, but we being an example. Just like at the Israel of God, they got somebody to clean the place up. I don't think it changed ever since I was there. Hey, they got paid for doing that. But the brothers around here don't get paid. We got different brothers that do it, but still, don't nobody get paid for doing it. But that could happen, but we being an example. That's what he means. Not because we have not power, but to make ourselves an example unto you to follow us. Go ahead, verse 10.
For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat.
See, that's the order of the day. Mm-hmm. So he said, even, that's what we doing, even though we working in the ministry. We do a whole lot of work, not just somebody standing up here teaching. Hey, that's a big part of the work, but that ain't it. It's a whole lot of other work that go on. But yet and still, we still got to go out and make a living too to be an example. He said, for this we commanded you that if any would not work, neither should he eat. He said, we're an example of that. So you can tell other people, look, you need to go and take care of yourself. Nothing come free. But go ahead, verse 11.
For we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies.
See how that lead? One thing lead to something else. You slowful, you ain't doing nothing. Then you got too much time to do something else you don't need to do. He said, we hear that some walk among you disorderly, working not at all, and more than that, they busybodies. Because you got too much time on your hands. Go ahead, verse 12.
Now them that are such we command and exhort by our Lord Jesus Christ, that with quietness they work and eat their own bread.
See, that's what you need to do. He said, we exhort by the Lord Jesus Christ that with quietness. So you ain't puffed up. You're not all out there running your mouth all the time. He said, with quietness, they work and eat their own bread. Then you avoid being slothful and you avoid grabbing the dog by the ears. Mm-hmm. Let's move a little further. Let's go to Timothy, the 5th chapter. 1 Timothy 5. 1 Timothy 5. First Timothy 5. And we're going to pick it up at verse 13. 1 Timothy 5 and verse 13. Now, in this case, he was talking about some women that weren't married. 1 Timothy 5 and verse 13. Go ahead.
And withal, they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house.
See, he's talking about these women, he said, and withal, they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house. Go ahead.
And not only idle, but tattlers also and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not.
He said not only idle, but he said tattlers also and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. See, that stuff all tying together, just going back to simply just watching your mouth. Not saying, not getting out the box with your mouth. And now it's hard, boy, because not only you ain't got to say nothing now, you can go on the computer and do some tattling. You can go, you just type, you ain't saying nothing with your mouth, you just typing away. But it's still the same old thing in your mind, coming out your mind. You can curse somebody out without even opening your mouth. So you got to be real careful. Go ahead, verse 14.
I will, therefore, that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully.
See, that's what he said, because he was talking about them entering into this program that they had for the older widows, really. But now he said, I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house. See, that's what he mean about a woman can pluck her own house down. Because it's the woman's job supposed to be to guide the house. The man should go out there, even if it's a lion out there, he need to get around that lion and go get something to eat. But the woman's job is to guide the house. He said, that's what I would, that they marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. See, some modern women, they might look at this as chauvinist. What you mean, bear children and guide the house? I'm going, because the world got it where women got to be out there too. Mm-hmm. But that don't do nothing but create a lot of problems in a lot of cases. But if that's your cup of tea, fine. But still, who gonna guide the house then? Kids. Unless the man, the kids, they gonna guide the house. There you go. That's what happened too. The kids got the house. But now, go ahead.
Verse
15.
For some are already turned aside after Satan.
See, Paul understood. He said, look, this is already a problem. And in many instances, the horse is out the barn on this note. For some are already turned aside after Satan. Let's go to 1 Peter now, the 4th chapter. 1 Peter, the 4th chapter. See, and that shows you the Lord got a job for everybody. The man's supposed to be the one work. Now, if your situation can be reversed. Maybe the woman can make more money. Maybe she can go out there and work. Hey, the man he got to be the one guy at the house then. 1 Peter, the 4th chapter. 1 Peter 4. Pick it up at verse 12. 1 Peter 4 and verse 12. Okay, go ahead.
Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you.
Go ahead.
But rejoice, inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy.
See, he's not telling us everything gonna work, gonna go your way, you're gonna have prosperity. Matter of fact, he said, beloved, don't think it's strange concerning what you got to go through when you come to know the Lord, when you start walking with the Lord. Because the world is contrary to God. And if you're going to follow God in this world, people going to think you strange, and you're going to go through some trials. He says, so don't be surprised when you start going through this fiery trial, when you start getting tried, like something happened to you when you're trying to do right. But you can rejoice when that happened because you know you're on the right note. You know it when you know the word, period, but that's just confirmation of it. Rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's suffering. Christ suffered, so we called to do some suffering. Hopefully we ain't going to suffer all the way like he did, but if need be, that's what we got to do. But still, it's going to be some suffering. The Bible says all that will live godly in Christ Jesus is going to suffer persecution. He said, you partakers of Christ's suffering, that when his glory shall be revealed. That's what's on the horizon, though. He's getting ready to come back real soon in glory, in the glory of his holy angels, and he's going to take over this world. That's when we want to be on the right side. That's why we're going through all of this. That's why we're going to get the little stuff in order. Said that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. Verse 14.
If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye. For the Spirit of glory and of God resteth upon you. On their part, he is evil spoken of, but on your part, he is glorified.
See, if you go through something for Christ, you should be happy about it. If you're doing all you can to serve the Lord and you still getting some lumps upside your head, he says it's time for you to rejoice. Time for you to rejoice, especially when they directly persecuting you for you talking about or doing God's will. Just like it's hard for some of us, it's hard to even have a job and be off on the Sabbath. People want to persecute you because of that. Because they so greedy, they want to make all the money. They don't want to rest on the seventh day. Don't even want to rest on the first day, their Sabbath. So you got to go through stuff with that, but you just got to deal with it. But that's if you're doing God's will. Now he's going to warn us about the other end of the spectrum. Go ahead, verse 15.
But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. He
said, but now on the other hand, don't suffer for breaking God's law, for doing wickedness. Don't suffer as a murderer or as a thief, because you ain't got no reward coming from that. Ain't no need to rejoice over that because you're getting your just due. Don't let none of you suffer. Just like we getting a whole lot of letters from brothers in prison. I guess most of them got cable in prison now. I didn't know that. Because they all sin. We getting letters all over the country from people in prison. Which is fine. And we send them literature and stuff like that. But, I seen it time and time again from people in prison. acting like, oh yeah, they just doing me so bad in here. They treat me, some of the brothers, they got this phrase, they say, I'm in the belly of the beast. I'm down here in the belly of the beast. Well, 9 out of 10, you done something to be in the belly of the beast. So you ain't got nothing, just take what you got coming and deal with it. You ain't got nothing to claim persecution about, even though they might be doing something wrong. You done something to get this on you, didn't you? 9 out of 10. I know some of them might be innocent, but still 9 out of 10 guilty. He said, look, but let none of you suffer as a murderer or as a thief or as an evildoer or as a busybody in other man's matters. So that's something we got to avoid, even some simply being a busybody. That go back to when he said, remove your foot from your neighbor's door. Because that create a lot of problems unnecessarily. But now let's go further. Let's go to Matthew, the 7th chapter. Matthew, the 7th chapter. So we just touched on a few little things. We talked a little bit about being able to receive correction, about not being boastful, about simply being content with what we got and where we at, about making sure we keep our house together. We even talked about being slothful. And last thing we was talking about was being a busybody. Now we're going to go to Matthew, the 7th chapter. Matthew 7, pick it up at verse 1. 7 and 1. Go ahead.
Judge not, that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. Now
notice what Jesus said. See, we can point out, we know a tree by the fruit it bears. We can point out that somebody is a false prophet. Jesus said that. We know even when somebody doing wrong, but that's one thing. But when it comes to judging somebody, that's you, basically, you're going to try to condemn somebody. And you can't condemn nobody. And then in a lot of times, especially if we all in the truth and it's among ourselves, a lot of times we can be over harsh with somebody else. But then we've done the same thing. So that's what he tells you. Judge not that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. So the bottom line, you want to operate with some mercy in mind. But go ahead, verse 3.
And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye?
See what he said? He said, now why are you worried about the mote that is in your brother's eye, but you don't consider the beam that's in your own eye? So you got to take care of that first. Ain't no need to even worry about somebody. And because you see this over and over again, like I said, people say, but it's bad too. Like I've seen where somebody get corrected and they say, yeah, I was wrong, but you didn't tell me right. You don't even worry about that now. You got to worry about your wrong, though, still. You got to deal with that. And then it'll be a big argument over that, and they might have been wrong the way they said it to you, but that ain't nothing for you to get up in arms when you wrong in the first place. So, again, everybody got to look at their own self first. That's what he's telling you. Why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considers not the beam that is in thine own eye? Because it's easy to see somebody else at their fault and point at their fault. But what really needs to happen, we need to look at our own fault and have a little compassion. Especially if somebody if they repent from what mistake they done made, then it's time for you to let that go. But go ahead, verse 4.
Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye?
See, you can't even see clearly. Because your vision is skewed. You can't even see clearly. Just like that would be ironic. A man come by and said, look, I got some flowers out in my yard. He think they weeds. He come out, he can't see good though. He said, man, you need to do such and such to get rid of them weeds. I said, no, but them flowers, they okay. And you go by his, and he got all kind of thorns and stuff growing up in his yard. He didn't need to say nothing about my yard. So that's the same thing he's telling you here. How wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote? A mote is something small, by the way, out of thine eye. And behold, a beam, that's something big, is in your own eye. Go ahead, verse 5.
Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye.
See, that's what we all got to do. We got to make sure we done got the beam out our own eye. That's why I ain't looking around. I ain't looking trying to find nobody doing nothing. If it come to me, then it come to me. I can deal with it, but I got to worry about my own self. The Bible said, work out your own salvation. I don't hope I see or catch nobody doing nothing. Because I got enough to worry about my own self. But now let's go further. Go to James, the 4th chapter. James 4. And we're going to start to wrap it up. James 4. And we're going to pick it up at verse 11. James 4 and verse 11. Okay, go ahead.
Speak not evil one to another, brethren. He that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother speaketh evil of the law and judgeth the law. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge.
See, it's one thing to point out that this brother made a mistake. Say, yeah, you know, that was wrong what you did. And he received it, it's over with. But it's another thing to exalt yourself over somebody like you so much better than them, and you're going to condemn them. You're going to come down with the hammer on them. And you're going to tell people about them, and you're going to speak evil about them. You know, such and such is no good. They did such and such. Well, tell me about yourself. And that's what you should do. If somebody always trying to come tell you about somebody else, you should say, okay, I appreciate it. That's good. You told me about them. What about you? Tell me about you. What you did lately. This is what he says. Speak not evil one of another, brethren. He that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother speaketh evil of the law and judgeth the law. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge. And we ain't got no judges around here. But go ahead. He gonna tell you, verse 12.
There is one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy.
See, it's only one lawgiver.
Who art thou that judges another?
There's only one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. So we can't be so high and mighty. Again, we know wrong when it's wrong, and we can point that out. The Bible tells you to do that. The Bible says you know a tree by the fruit it bear. But that don't mean you get on your high horse like you all at. Because there's one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. Who art thou that judges another? Let's go a little far. Let's see how you handle it. Galatians, the 6th chapter. Galatians, the 6th chapter. Galatians 6. We're going to pick it up at verse 1. Galatians 6 And verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted.
See, this is how you handle the situation. He said, brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, because it's going to be some faults, it's going to be some offenses. He said, if somebody is overtaken in a fault, and you supposed to be spiritual, instead of like we were saying about judging and condemning somebody and speaking evil of them. He said, if ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness. So you're not proud and puffed up, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Because I've seen it time and time and time again, somebody be real heavy-handed with somebody else, not considering that they could be in the same situation. And then lo and behold, guess what? They in the same situation or another situation. Because you didn't handle this situation right. You should have realized, like they say in AA or NA, all those anonymous clubs I done been to. What they say, Wayne know. What they say when you see somebody drunk, stumbling, going by, what you say? That could be me. Mm-hmm. So you ain't going to really talk about, look at that drunk over there. Look at, he can't even walk straight. If you done been drunk and know you could be stumbling around just like them, you can have a little more compassion. Mm-hmm. If it don't be for the grace of God, I could be stumbling down there.
That's right.
That's the way you look at it. That's what he said here. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Go ahead, verse 2.
Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ.
See, he said, bear ye one another's burden. That's the way you're supposed to be looking at it. Trying to help each other and not condemn one another. But go ahead.
3. 4. If a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself.
See, going back to being puffed up in the mind, which will lead to you being boastful, and can't nobody tell you nothing. For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. Now, in this case, notice who the man is. Notice who the person is. This is the one who might be right in that situation. But see, they still can get out of line. Let's go further. Go to Ecclesiastes 12. Ecclesiastes 12. Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. Let's pick it up at verse 13. Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 13. Okay, go ahead.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
Now, this is the bottom line, all that we've been talking about. As always, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter, he said. What's the conclusion of the whole matter? Go ahead.
Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
Fear God and keep his commandments. That's the bottom line to all of it. Even these few things that we're dealing with today, it boils down to this. Fear God and keep his commandments, because it's still our duty. For this is the whole duty of man, which is amazing that people try to do away with the whole duty of man. That's the whole duty of man, but many churches say, well, that's been done away with. You don't have to keep the commandments no more. We just got grace. Look, grace just gives you opportunity to repent and get your act together. If you didn't have to do nothing, we wouldn't have all these scriptures, Old Testament and New Testament, telling you about these things. These little things that we can get off track on. Jesus said in Matthew 5, if you break one of the least commandments and teach people so, you're getting yourself in trouble. So one of the least commandments, you're getting in trouble. He said, but he that shall do and teach, you're going to be great in the kingdom of heaven. But you got to do it. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Go ahead.
For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
See, if you don't have the mindset to think you want to fear God and keep his commandments, he give you some reasoning to do that. He said, because God going to bring every work into judgment. That's why he tell you to fear God, because you're going to have to answer to him. He going to bring every work into judgment. That means even these little things that seem little, but they loom big, even these things, he going to bring them into judgment, isn't he? He going to bring every work into judgment with every secret thing. So we can't hide nothing from God. We can't hide nothing from God. We can hide from each other. I can do something you don't know about. You can do something I don't know about. But guess who know about all of it? With every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. He going to bring it into judgment. Let's go to Luke 17. Luke 17. And we're going to pick it up at verse 7. Luke 17 and verse 7. So we saw to fear God and keep his commandments. That's the whole duty of man. But now again, keeping the right mindset, not being proud and boastful. When you do that, we're going to see how you're supposed to look at it. Luke 17 and verse 7. Go ahead.
But which of you, having a servant plowing or feeding cattle, will say unto him by and by, when he is come from the field, go and sit down to meat? And will not rather say unto him, make ready wherewith I may sup, and gird thyself and serve me, till I have eaten and drunken, and afterward thou shalt eat and drink.
So now he giving you a little analogy about a servant who working in the field. And that's what we all are, even concerning these little things. He giving you this analogy. He said, now which of you having a servant? If you got a servant and that's his job to handle the business in the field, he said, look, when he come home from the field, he still got some more work to do. He said, he don't just go and get him something to eat. You don't just say, go sit down and eat, but you said, no, you got to finish your work. You fix mine first. And then you go ahead and get you something and eat and drink so you can go back to work tomorrow. That's what a servant's job is. Go ahead, verse 9.
Do he thank that servant because he did the things that were commanded him? I trow not. See, now that's his job. That's what he signed on for. It's just like when you go to your regular job. When you do your regular job and when you get back, I'm thinking about driving a truck because that's what I was doing for so long. When I got back to the terminal, I had some more work to do. Ain't nobody that's standing there patting me on the back because I know that was my job. He said, doth he thank that servant because he did the things that were commanded him? He said, I think not. No, because that was his job. So you don't get no pat on the back necessarily. Verse 10, go ahead. So likewise ye, when ye shall have done all those things which are commanded you, say, we are unprofitable servants. We have done that which was our duty to do. See, when you listen to the Bible, that'll keep you from getting out of joint and puffed up. He said, look, so likewise ye, when ye have done all those things that are commanded you, this is what you should say to yourself. So if you're doing God's will, that's good. If you're doing the things he commanded, that's good. That's what you're supposed to do. He said, this is what you say to yourself. We are unprofitable servants. We have done that which is our duty to do. So if you're doing that, that's all you're doing. We saw that the whole duty of man is to fear God and keep his commandments, right? Right. That's the whole duty of man. So that's the best you can do. If you're doing that, you ain't no special person that you can look down on somebody else. You just doing that which commanded you. So you think to yourself, you are unprofitable servant, he said. Go to Luke 19.
Flip over 2 chapters to Luke the 19th chapter. And that helps keep everything in perspective. Because even though these seem like small things, in the big, they loom big in the big scheme of things. Luke 19. And we're going to pick it up at verse 15. Luke 19 and verse 15. Okay, go ahead.
And it came to pass that when he was returned, having received the kingdom, then he commanded these servants to be called unto him, to whom he had given the money, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading.
Now this is what Jesus is going to do. He's going to see if you're doing your duty when he come back. Because that's what you better be doing. And that's all you got coming is your reward when he come back. You don't get no pat on the back now. He said when he was returned, having received the kingdom, he gave a parable about how he going to leave and then come back, which is what he's doing. Then he commanded these servants to be called on him to whom he had given the money, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading. So he going to see what you did with what he gave you. Verse 16.
Then came the first, saying, Lord, thy pound hath gained 10 pounds.
See, this is what you want to be able to say. Look, I did my duty, Lord. That's what I did. He said, then came the first and said, Lord, thy pound have gained 10 pounds. Then what the Lord going to say when it's over with? Go ahead.
And he said unto him, well, thou good servant, because thou hast been faithful in a very little, have thou authority over 10 cities.
See, he going to give him a great reward. But why? He said, because you have been faithful over a little. So he done proven he can handle some little stuff. Just like we talking about today. We talking about a few little things. Well, this is what the Lord said, because you've been faithful in a very little, which is what we got to do, don't we?
Yeah.
He going to give you some great authority then. Have thou authority over 10 cities. Because he see that you can handle it. You have done that which is your duty. One more place, Proverbs, back to Proverbs one last time, the 30th chapter. Proverbs, the 30th chapter. Proverbs 30, and we're going to pick it up at verse 24. Because sometimes we have to talk about this because we'll overlook little things. We can get so caught up on big things, think we all of that, and we can overlook little important stuff. Just like this analogy he gave us here, Proverbs 30 and verse 24. Proverbs 30 and verse 24. Go ahead.
There be 4 things which are little upon the earth, but they are exceeding wise.
See, it don't matter if it seems little, because this is kind of like a basic lesson. It's a basic lesson about little things, but it's still important. And it's still, like he said here, it's still exceedingly wise. We can learn a lot. He said there be 4 things which are little. It might not be like the 70 weeks of Daniel, all long and drawn out with maps and charts and all of that stuff, right?
Right.
But it's still very important. He said 4 things which are little upon the earth, but they are exceeding wise. What are they?
25. The ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their meats in the summer.
See, now he's talking about something real little. You can't get no littler than an ant, can you? He said the ants are people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in summer. Yet they take care of their business, don't they? They know what to do and they do it like we need to do. He said they are people not strong. Look, I done seen ants moving bread. They get together and they will move some bread to somewhere where they can eat it. And that's what he's talking about here. He said, look, they prepare their meat in summer. Little bitty ants. Go ahead, 26.
The conies are but a feeble folk, yet make they their houses in the rocks.
Now this ant, he said, look, they are feeble folk. I forgot what a coney is, what family it comes from, but whatever it is, hey, he make his house, he said, in the rocks, even though he a feeble animal, he make his house in the rocks. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, 27.
The locust having no king, yet go they forth all of them by bands.
See, he said the locusts, they don't have no king, yet they go forth united.
Yep.
Like somebody is leading them. They don't have no king, no. Go ahead. What's the last little thing that looms big? Go ahead.
The spider taketh hold with her hand, and is in kings' palaces.
Now the spider, you would look down on the spider, try to kill a spider, of course. But look, the spider can go where you can't even go. The spider can take forth with his hands and be in kings' houses, and they won't even let you in the gate, not even to the front door. You won't even get to the gate to get to the door.
No.
But the spider is up in there. So that shows you can't underestimate nothing. I hope you got some understanding in Jesus' name.